Okay, first of all, before I get into this video and the main topic of it, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, hello? Nintendo, hello? What in the world just happened? I literally just sat down to record, and right before I did, I somehow just started procrastinating because that's how you do things around here, apparently. And Xenoblade Chronicles X, what the heck? Definitive Edition. Oh my gosh, it's a random Tuesday afternoon, or morning. It's a random Tuesday morning. It's like 10 a.m. where I'm at. Oh my goodness. Man, and that, it just leads perfectly into the point of this video, which is why I believe the Nintendo Switch 2 will succeed. Now, if you look at Nintendo's history as a whole, there have been all sorts of problems with Nintendo trying to capitalize on a console's success by just releasing a better version of that console. So we're going to break all of that and more down in this video today, so make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Make sure you click that notification bell if you want to know exactly when my videos come out, and consider joining my membership program to have early access to all of my videos and shorts and potentially some new membership polls. Thank you so much for considering all that and for doing all of that in the first place. You're amazing. I love you. Enjoy the rest of this video. So the first thing I just have to touch on is the games. It's simply the best generation of gaming, period, for Nintendo. Ever. Just ever. You look back at all of the other console generations prior to the Nintendo Switch, and you will see a lot of amazing games. They have made absolutely phenomenal classics, and the GameCube generation has so many revolutionary new IPs, amazing new games. So many. But the Nintendo Switch, easily, without question, has the best games lineup of any Nintendo console ever. And I truly believe that will continue into the Switch 2, and the games will continue to be as high quality as they are now, but even better with the stronger hardware, and with Nintendo finally getting their footing on having their two divisions, their game development divisions, merged. And back in 2017, right, the Nintendo Switch launched, and they still had the 3DS. They still had, throughout their entire history, that little nagging bit that was like, oh, we have a handheld console, and then we have a home console. And that's just how they've done business for a very long time. And their handhelds have always been successful. In fact, their handhelds arguably have been more successful than their home consoles. But the Wii kind of bucked that trend and had a very successful home console that made Nintendo kind of think that they were kings of the world, and they got a little bit complacent in what they were doing, and they were like, you know what, we can just make whatever the heck we want and not worry about any of this. But no, they realized they had to get their crap together if they wanted people to buy their consoles, and that is why Xbox, with their current leaders, will never change, because you simply cannot say that exclusive games don't bring people to your consoles, because they do. Because the Nintendo Switch, a lot of people bought that console specifically for Breath of the Wild. No one was buying Wii U's for Breath of the Wild. They were buying the Switch for Breath of the Wild, and for Super Mario Odyssey, and for all of these incredible first-party games that are only on the Switch. And, of course, Nintendo had the benefit of having the first hybrid console ever, to where it's like, you can put it on your dock, have it on your TV, and then take it wherever the heck you want to take it. That is a novel concept all on its own that made people want to buy it, including myself, even though I was a big Nintendo fanboy and I was going to buy it anyways. But that, simply put, unless you have something completely revolutionary in terms of hardware, you're never going to sell a console to someone without exclusive games. You're just not. So that's the first part. Nintendo has absolutely upped their games this generation, and that will continue into the Switch 2 generation. And like I said earlier, with the merging of their divisions, they had handheld, and then they had home console. Well, now, after the Switch released, the 3DS phased out, and they put all hands on deck for the Switch's development. And we're seeing the fruits of that even now, within these last couple of months of the Switch's very life. Furukawa, back in May, confirmed that the Switch 2 would be revealed sometime between now and March of 2025. Okay, so we know that the Switch 2 is coming, and that it's literally, when this video will go up, it will be November 1st. And so that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. 5 months, anywhere between November, December, January, and February, and March. And we know they're not going to wait until March. There's no shot they wait until March to reveal this. They are going to want to reveal it sometime after the holiday season. And yes, I was wrong. I predicted that they would reveal it sometime in September, October at the latest, I said. I was wrong. I'll take the L on that. But it makes a lot of sense to me now, seeing how many freaking games they've put out at this last little bit of the Nintendo Switch's life. They have just squeezed so much incredible games out of this console, and they're going to try their best to make this thing, and I know they don't care internally, but they're going to very possibly come close to being the highest selling console ever with the Nintendo Switch. And I am here for it. I'm so excited. And Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, or Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, excuse me. Just seeing that revealed today, having all of these incredible games on the consoles last year, we had Princess Peach Showtime, a brand new game in an IP and a series that has hardly been touched at all since the very first Princess Peach game, which was just kind of a 2D side-scroller ripoff. Like, it wasn't a very good game in my opinion. And then we had Super Mario Party Jamboree, completely out of nowhere, the best Mario Party game we've had since like the classic golden era of Mario Party. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which I personally have had some problems with, but a lot of people love it. It's a reimagining of what 2D Zelda could be, combining it with 3D Zelda elements, and you play as Zelda for the very first time. We've had all of these amazing games this year. We're going to have more with Mario & Luigi Brothership. Then in January, we have Donkey Kong Country Returns. Then now, in March, this is just such a weird... It says so much to me about what Nintendo is thinking and what they're going to do. For them to say a new Switch game, Xenoblade Chronicles X, will be coming out in March of 2025, and not even early March, late March, I'm a little scared for that game because the series hasn't sold entirely. Well, it just hasn't been the best selling series ever, because I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the highest selling, and I don't even think that has hit 3 million. I could be incorrect on that. So I'm a little bit worried for the sales of this game, just because by that point we will absolutely have had the Switch 2 reveal, and it's going to be hard for them to generate hype for a Xenoblade Chronicles spin-off, which technically it's not even a main series game, but we'll see that when we get there. But it just says so much to me about how Nintendo is thinking, and the games are easily one of the biggest parts of why Nintendo Switch 2 will succeed, because yes, the novelty of having a handheld portable console will be gone. It just will be. The Steam Deck is out. There have been all sorts of different Switch knockoffs that they've made, and playing on the go with beefy hardware is now just not a novel concept anymore. It's just not to play all of these amazing big first-party games on the go. So what they're going to have to do is just continue to ramp up the games, and I believe wholeheartedly that they are doing that now. Because like I've said, with 2024, and even with 2023 in some extent, all of these games that have come out, all of these new exciting first-party games that have gotten all of the Nintendo community ramped up and buying more games, have been either remakes or smaller budget games. Mario Party Jamboree. They make Mario Party games almost every year at this point. Like, they don't. It's like every other year, but they make Mario Party games a lot. It's not that hard to make a Mario Party game and release it. It's the same thing with like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, all of these remakes, Donkey Kong Country, and now Xenoblade freaking Chronicles X is coming out soon in March. So that it's not that hard for them to use these smaller development teams and other studios that they've been working on and just pump out these smaller games, while in the background, we've not had a new 3D Mario game since 2017, and if you want to count Bowser's Fury, that's 2021 still, so it's been 3 years since the newest 3D Mario, technically, but I'm going to count Odyssey as how long it's been. So we have had that. We haven't had a new Mario Kart game since the Wii U, Mario Kart 8. It's been over 10 years since Mario Kart 8 has released. There's going to be a new Mario Kart game. Splatoon 3. Would you believe if I were to look you in the eyes and say that Splatoon 3 came out on September 9th, 2022? It's been over 2 years since Splatoon 3 came out. So they're going to have a new Splatoon game within the first couple of years. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. My goodness, 2018 was the year that game came out. Sakurai confirmed in his final video on his YouTube channel that he got the green light to develop a new game right after Smash Ultimate. And guess what? It could be another game, sure, but I am 1000% confident it is a new Smash Brothers game. So there's going to be a new Smash game on the console. There's going to be so many things that come out on the Switch 2 that are going to get people excited and get people to the stores. So that's my first big exciting reason for why the Switch 2 will succeed. And another thing that goes along with games in general for why the Switch 2 will succeed is just backwards compatibility in general. All of the leaks, rumors, and common sense would tell you that the Switch 2 is 1000% going to be backwards compatible. And you might say, hey, where's your proof for that? And I say, I don't have any tangible proof yet, but I do think I have a little piece of evidence, which is this chart that's going up on the screen right now. I have showed this in so many of my videos, early on especially. I just was infatuated by this particular image that Nintendo released because it says so much about their vision for the future and what they want to do. So this image is specifically about Nintendo accounts, and you might think, oh, online service, right? No, it's not just the online system, although that is kind of a part of it. You can have a Nintendo account without having the Nintendo Switch Online account. So having a Nintendo account, I really do think is going to be a big part of their future, because it even says next gaming system, integrated hardware, software on this chart. They're trying to expand their IP in so many different ways, and when this image first came out, we weren't sure exactly how that was going to be or what that meant. Now we know it meant movies, themes parks, everything. So this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it as easy as possible, as seamless as possible to get into Switch, to get into Nintendo. And that's just another reason I think Xenoblade Chronicles X says so much about Nintendo's vision for the future, because that's coming out in March of 2025, and I'm going to talk about that more later. But it is so incredible to me to see that they are this confident in releasing these games at those times, because that tells me that they think this is going to be backwards compatible. You're going to be able to buy your Switch 2 day one and have the entire library of the Switch available. And I wouldn't be surprised, I'm not necessarily predicting this at this moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of them were enhanced in some way, simply by just running on better hardware. So that is why the games are such a big part of this, because on the Switch day one, they were just lucky to have such amazing launch titles and to fill out that year as crazy as that year was. They filled it out, and I'm sure they'll do it again. We'll talk about that more later. But man, oh man, will this be amazing to have the Switch on day one. Switch 2, have all of the original Switch's games immediately on the console. It's like Virtual Console, but better, because they'll probably have the Nintendo account as well, to where you can have all of those old games. So it's just all there. You have a million things to play on it already. And like I kind of said, they're going to try to repeat that 2017 magic. They're going to absolutely release so many amazing games within the first year of this console. You look back to 2017, which I did a whole video retrospective on. You should go watch that whenever you get the chance after this video. 2017 was a wild year. They started with Breath of the Wild. They had 1-2 Switch at launch. Snipperclips was a fun, charming game. Bomberman, all of that stuff. Then they had Mario Kart a few months later. Then they had ARMS. And then they had Splatoon. And then they had Mario and Rabbids. And then Fire Emblem. And then Super Mario Odyssey. And then Doom came out in November. And then Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And they had all of these amazing first-party games. Within the first year, almost every month there was a new game that got people hyped up to the stores buying Switches. And they're going to want to do that again. And like I said, I truly believe they're going to do that with the Switch. 2025. They probably will reveal it around the January-December timeframe, release it around April, maybe May. I don't even know about the release date anymore, because I truly did believe it was going to come out in March, but now it's definitely not going to be out in March, because that would obviously replicate the Switch's timeline. But having Xenoblade Chronicles X come out in March, I just can't see them also revealing and releasing the Switch 2 within that such short of a time span, especially now with an election. I mean, I was watching Kit and Krista, their podcast. They were talking about how it would be a horrible time for them to reveal the Switch 2 right now, because any sort of media buzz that they would want to garner would be totally swept up in the United States by our current presidential election, which I understand worldwide isn't as big of a thing. But here in the States, they would not get as much coverage as they want to, or nearly as much as the Switch 1 had garnered back in 2017. So yeah, I truly do believe that this is going to be some of those things where it's like not necessarily later in the year, but early in the next year, which is unfortunate for people who have just been holding out for a Switch 2 reveal. And I think you're going to have to hold out for a little longer. It's going to be around December, January for them to reveal it. But yeah, I do think that they're going to have a 2017 Part 2. It's going to be way more games than you think you can even handle, and it's going to be amazing. And this leads me to my next segue about games, is how Super Mario Odyssey was 2017. We've talked about that a bunch on this channel. Mario is going to be a launch title for sure. That has been my prediction from day one. I wrote down the notes to this very video back when Furukawa revealed the Switch 2 on Twitter. I wrote down this knowing Mario would have its 3D game all to itself on the Switch 2 as a launch title. And you can come back, clip this, do whatever the heck you got to do. I will be proven correct on this. I just know it. I'm excited because there has not been a 3D Mario in such a long time. And I am confident that day one, they will have the biggest and best looking, honestly. Super Mario Odyssey looks amazing. It's going to look even better. The Switch 2's hardware is going to blow people out of the water with how much better it looks. Because the 2017 Switch model that most people have is not, it's old. It is very old. It is technically Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 hardware. And man, you can do a lot with that, as Nintendo has shown. And they push their consoles to the limits every single generation, no matter what console it is. All of their games look fantastic. But this console specifically is going to look better than any generation Nintendo has ever had, period. So I'm really excited to see that. It's going to blow people out of the water. There's going to be a lot of amazing launch title games, and they're going to want to repeat all of that success from 2017, and they're going to do it, I believe. Okay, now, my next point as to why I believe the Switch 2 will totally succeed is that the online system is going to be revamped. They are going to work. Literally, you're going to play an online game, and it's going to work. What a novel concept, Nintendo. But no, I made another video about this, about the Nintendo Switch Online, and how it has just been a struggle. But I totally believe that they are fixing the online, and they're going to make it to where it's playable. Because Smash Bros. Ultimate is so much fun, and I could play it for years on end. But come on, man. You can't even play a regular match without it lagging every 5 seconds. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, somehow, some way, has been one of the smoothest experiences for them to play online. They've had a lot of different smooth experiences as well, but Super Mario Maker 2, for example, is just horrendous. There are so many awful Nintendo online experiences during this generation, and I believe that they are going to absolutely fix it. And you might be saying, why do you believe that, Ray? What in the world could lead you to believe that? Nintendo has been horrible with online forever. They've been late to the party on all of the features, and this generation has been such a struggle with online. Why do you believe that? I believe that because of the NSO playtest experiment that they have run, and people have played, and it's all leaked, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot here, but if you want, go Google it, figure out what's going on there. Basically, they are testing online play for a lot of people, MMOs. They are testing, dare I say, servers. That is what the speculation is behind the essentially game that the playtest has happened. And that's what the playtest was. So go Google that. I'm not going to talk about it here. I don't want to get copyright struck or any of that. But that is one of the reasons I truly believe they're getting their act together. They realize more and more and more the importance of online. And I truly believe that COVID actually changed that for them. Because I remember back in the day, 2020, the great Nintendo Direct drought, and everyone was just so eager for news, and Nintendo wasn't saying anything because it was such a rough year and hard to develop anything. I just remember hearing specifically about how Japan just didn't have a concept of what it was like to work from home, or online capabilities, or just like the idea of Zoom calls or things like that. And maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't want to, I'm not trying to say anything bad or anything like that. That's just what I remember seeing reports on how Nintendo has just been behind, and they've been struggling to get up with that. But within the past couple of years, I think they've adapted to that mentality of having more technologically advanced methods of meeting and doing things. And I think they just saw the importance of what it means to play online with people and their families and their friends and all of that. And I think specifically with the Mario Party Jamboree and all of their latest games, I mean, they have so much online support, and there are obviously frustrating things that they include with these games and their online systems that you just wish that they would do differently, including it just working to begin with, but they're trying. I truly believe that they're trying. So they're going to make it better, and they're going to give dedicated servers to these games. And that's going to be something that comes out of left field for a lot of people, but I am predicting it now. That is why the Switch 2 will succeed. One of the major reasons is online. They're just going to have better online. Here's my next reason that the Switch 2 will succeed. They're not going to mess it up and give us some crappy, stupid gimmick that ruins the concept of the Switch, like they did with the Wii U. It's not going to be some gimmick. It's not. They're going to make a more powerful Switch with UI enhancements, with all of these different hardware enhancements that make it so much more streamlined and accessible and better. It's just going to be a better, more enhanced Switch. Now, you might be thinking, why in the world would anyone want to buy just an enhanced Switch? Well, guess what? That's what everyone's been asking for since 2020 almost. When the OLED Switch was announced, people have been wanting just a more powerful Switch forever. And it's not going to just be a more powerful Switch, although I think that is the main draw of it. They're going to have a lot of different hardware differences compared to the Switch 1. It's just overall going to be a better Switch, 10 times over. And the model leaks that have come out, and I covered it on some community tab polls and just different things like that, you can see they truly have gotten a lot different than what the Switch 1 is, and they're going to have magnetic Joy-Cons, and it's just going to be a bigger, better Switch for everyone. But that is such a big deal to me, to see how Nintendo is not just going like, oh, you know what, now that we're on top of the hill again, we can just do whatever the heck we want. Let's do some weird gimmick where there are two controllers and you have to play them both with only your pinky finger. Like, no, they're not going to do some weird, restrictive, gimmicky concept for their new console. It's going to be a new Switch. And that is such a big deal because look at the other consoles on the market. PlayStation specifically has been the biggest rival in terms of what the biggest gaming companies have put out and what people have been buying. PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 5, it's literally just been bigger, better hardware. Every single generation. They've not made too many differences. Like the PS5, the controller was a lot better than the PS4, but like they have had incremental upgrades from each system. And so I think Nintendo just needs to follow that route, and I think they're actually going to do that. Now maybe for the next generation, we'll see what happens, because as we've known with the PS5, the better hardware you have, the harder it is to develop games consistently. And also with those games, people aren't really caring as much because they don't look as better as they do on the PS4. Like, yeah, it is a pretty big upgrade from PS5 to PS4, but you can still play so many of those games on the PS4 and be totally happy. I think with Nintendo, right now, the leap they're about to make from this Xbox 360 hardware, that is the Nintendo Switch, to the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be the biggest leap on the market that has been in a very, very long time. So Nintendo not only has the best IP on the market, the best output of games, but is also going to have somewhat comparable hardware to the other competitors. And that is just going to mean so much for the company and for the consumer. So they're just going to keep it simple. And that is amazing. They're not getting arrogant here. They're not doing their weird Nintendo thing. They're just going to do what they believe is best for the consumer and is going to be best for their company. So now we move into my final reason as to why the Switch 2 is going to succeed. The only time that Nintendo in their entire history has succeeded from transitioning from one console to the next console, and that next console be as successful, if not more successful, was the NES to the SNES. Allow me to draw some parallels here that might make you realize how similar of a position Nintendo is in with their Switch and how they were back in the day with the NES. So, the NES releases and essentially saves gaming as we know it in North America. Gaming was dead. No one wanted to buy it. Everything was overpriced. Everything was in an awful state. Nothing was fun. It was all gimmicky garbage meant to steal your money and take up your time, and it just wasn't fun. The NES released, saved the gaming market. Super Mario Bros. Released and just blew everyone's faces off with new types of gameplay. It was amazing. They rode that success all the way to 61.9 million units worldwide. And specifically with the gaming crash, there really wasn't a lot of competition. So everyone who was buying a Nintendo system, that was pretty much the only option on the market. So that means they had the market all to themselves. And the success was worldwide. It was just incredible. So what do you do after that, right? You just do a better version of what people love. The Super NES released, and it sold 49 million units. Why? Why was it just as successful? If not, I mean, it was a little bit less technically in terms of sales units, but the NES was such a phenomenon, and the SNES followed it up pretty well. Like, people also went out to buy those consoles. So why? Why did it succeed? What they did very similar to the NES. They just made a better NES, a Super NES. They literally added some buttons, improved the graphics, continued making great games that people loved, sold it for a reasonable price, and boom, that was it. That's all they had to do to get people's attention, to get people to shell out the money to buy their console. Now, here we are in the year 2024. You look back to 2017, the Switch was a phenomenon. It just absolutely released, and it just took the world over. It truly took the world over, just like the NES did. With it, both of them had very novel concepts, and they just came out and were successful, and they had some of the most successful generations ever. Then, when they got closer to the end of their lifespans, rumors probably came about with the NES and the SNES, and people were like, oh my goodness, next console's coming. And then they reveal and release a console very similar to the first one, except it's just going to be better. Now, I understand the Switch 2 has not been revealed yet, and all of my talk about how it's just going to be a better Switch technically is unfounded, but there have been several leaks, including, like I talked about, the hardware and the shell, and I did a community poll about that, so if you want to go and look and see that, or just Google what the heck's going on with these leaks, it's all but confirmed that it's going to be a better Switch. It's just going to be a next generation leap with better hardware, interesting new specs, fun Nintendo charm, new Switch. And it would be hilarious if they called it the Super Nintendo Switch, because I truly believe that that is the most comparable example as to what they're going to do here. And like I said earlier with the Wii and the Wii U, that is how you fail in transitioning. With the Wii, they just thought they were on top of the world. They thought anyone and everyone would buy what they had because they tapped into that blue ocean market, and all these people are going to come back for round 2. But nope, when grandmas and grandpas all got tired of the gimmick and they put down the Wii bowling, nobody cared. The Wii U was not interesting enough. It didn't have good enough games. It wasn't clearly marketed as to what the heck it was. It just played off of a bad gimmick. And that is how you fail in this market. They're not doing that. They're not relying upon gimmicks, because the Switch gimmick isn't a gimmick. It is portability. It is accessibility. It's just a better way to play. And that is just what they're going to market. That's what they're going to do. The marketing has been so much better in this generation. And I truly believe that NES to SNES transition is going to mirror the Switch's exactly. We're going to have a new hardware with new games. They're going to blow our faces off, and we're all going to love it. And it's not going to be as successful as the Switch, because the Switch will almost guaranteed never have a rival in terms of sales. But the Nintendo Switch 2 will come very, very close. If the Switch ends up selling about 155 million units, I think the Switch 2 will probably hit around 90 to 100 million, 80 at the worst, throughout its lifetime. But the Switch has officially become Nintendo's longest generation ever. This has gone on for such a long time. It will have been over 8 years, almost 9 I believe, when the Switch 2 will release. So that is saying something, and because of how the graphics have been and the hardware just hasn't improved as exponentially as it has in the past, Nintendo, there's no telling how long the Switch 2 generation will be. Because if the Switch 2 ends up being anywhere close to the power of a PS4 Pro, or even just a PS4 in general, like the rumors are saying, then honestly, that's good for a long time. And if they just keep being a little bit behind the curve, everything's going to be cheaper, which means they can sell it for cheaper, and they get more sales from that, and their games are always top tier. So better hardware, better games, and a longer generation cycle honestly could lead the Switch 2 to selling just about as much as the Switch 1, which would be insane. But that's not what I'm predicting. I am certainly not predicting that. I'm just predicting that the Switch 2 will be an absolute success on any metric. I don't think a lot of people are talking about the idea of the Switch 2 failing. I think everyone is talking about why it will succeed and just hype for that. But there is a possibility that the Switch 2 just comes out the gate and isn't exciting and isn't what people want. And I think I'll cover that in its own video as to why I believe the Switch 2 could fail. But that is for another time. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope I was able to convince you, or at least give you some good reasons to stew on as to why I believe the Switch 2 will succeed. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. You are amazing. Don't forget to like and subscribe, click the bell, join my membership program if you want more content, and if you just want to be a part of the community a little bit more. I appreciate you all so freaking much. You have an amazing day. I have been Ray. This is Ray's Nintendo Talk, and I will see y'all in the next video.